So the timing of this is kind of funny. A few weeks ago, Samsung wanted me to try out their Galaxy Watch 6 Classic 47mm. I was like, hell yeah, why not? Let me go ahead and do that. Then last week, OnePlus was like, but you should also try the OnePlus Watch 2. And I'm like, oh my god, let's do it. I got both of these watches for free, so I don't have a dog in this fight, and if I'm being honest, my favorite smartwatch of all time is actually the Garmin Instinct 2X. It's built like a tank, it has a crazy bright flashlight built in, and the battery is 40 days long. Oh, and it also has solar charging. But this isn't exactly the type of watch I would wear if I'm getting all dressed up, which is why I kind of like that these types of watches exist. The best from Samsung and the best from OnePlus. So let's go ahead and talk about the design. My Galaxy Watch 6 Classic is 47mm in size, it has a sapphire crystal display, and it's made from stainless steel. It's IP68 water and dust protected, and it also goes down to 5 atmospheres of pressure, which is pretty darn good. All of that is also true for the OnePlus Watch 2, except it is 46mm in size, and it only comes in one size. There are really only 3 physical differences of these watches, one of which is the physical size, with the Watch 6 Classic being slightly larger, and the second difference is on the back. The Watch 6 Classic uses magnetic wireless charging, and the OnePlus Watch 2 uses magnetic pogo pins for charging. And the third difference is navigation. So with the Watch 6 Classic, you can, use your fingers, or you can actually turn the dial and it'll actually navigate the watch for you. But of course, it's not only good for navigation, it's also good for protecting your screen, since the screen is kind of, recessed pretty darn deep. Now, oddly enough, the crown on the OnePlus Watch 2 does spin, but it doesn't do anything. It only clicks. So your only style of navigation is obviously using your finger and the touchscreen. That's it. Now, talking about the bands of these two watches, they're both very comfortable, but of course Samsung does give you a lot more options to choose from whenever it comes to getting your different kinds of bands. On the OnePlus side of things, you only have 2 colors, this kind of teal color and also black. That's it. But I do like how the band on the Watch 6 Classic can lay down flat compared to the OnePlus Watch 2, which is kind of more stiff towards the casing. Now, the one thing I don't like about the band of the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic is this little retention strap. It is free flowing, there's no little nub to go into the creases, so it just kind of falls off, and then you're stuck with a little flappy, and no one likes a flappy. Okay, no one. Meanwhile, of course, on the OnePlus Watch 2, it does have a stopper, so it just feels more kind of fixed in place. So now let's talk about something that I find quite important: battery life and charging. So the 47mm version of the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic has 425 mAh battery, and the OnePlus Watch 2 has, like I said, one size, and it has a 500 mAh battery. The OnePlus Watch 2 is kind of interesting because most of all other smartwatches have a single chip, right? In the case of the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, it is the Samsung Exynos W930. But the OnePlus Watch 2 actually has 2 chips, the Snapdragon W5 and the Best 2700 chip. The Best 2700 chip kind of handles all your low power necessities, right? So think about the notifications, the timekeeping, swiping back and forth through the UI. All of that is done on the low power chip. Anytime you're doing more intensive tasks like health tracking or making a call, that's when the Snapdragon chip takes over. This is kind of genius. It allows the OnePlus Watch 2 to get incredible battery life. So for example, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic 47mm gets me around a day to a day and a half of battery life, which is pretty darn good for your typical smartwatch. But this watch gets me around 2.5 days. That's crazy. And by the way, that's both with the always-on display turned on, both with 1 hour workout tracking during the day and sleep tracking. So that is very impressive for the OnePlus Watch 2. Now, when it comes to charging, the OnePlus Watch 2 charges faster, and I think that's just because it's a OnePlus device. Do any OnePlus devices charge slow? I don't know. But yeah, this thing charges really quick. I think it's because of the pogo pins used for charging instead of like the wireless charging that the Watch 6 Classic has. But this, from 0 to 100%, 1 hour. That's pretty darn fast. As a comparison, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic takes around an hour and 20 minutes to charge from 0 to 100%. So what about the displays? Well, honestly, both displays look great, but the Watch 6 Classic does look a little bit more modern due to having smaller visible bezel size. And in terms of visibility, the Watch 6 Classic is also brighter, 2000 nits compared to 1000 on the OnePlus Watch 2. But in practice, both watches do a really good job at handling brightness, and if I'm being honest with myself, I do wish this watch, the Samsung watch, actually went to 1000 nits of brightness instead of 2000 nits. And the reason is because I want more battery life. We're moving into a time where we're charging everything. We even got these little new fancy AI pins and the smart glasses and everything. We're charging like 20 different devices every single night. So the less time we charge, in my opinion, the better. Which is again another reason why I love the Garmin watch so much. I charge it once every month and a half. Like, I charge it and forget about it. That's it. So instead of companies giving us 2000, 3000 nits of brightness like the Apple Watch Ultra 2 has, hey, just give us 1000 nits. It's good enough to see outside easily. I've had no issues with the OnePlus Watch 2 being able to be viewed outside. Just give us that and give us great battery life. That's it. It's a win-win. But what do you guys think? That's just my opinion. I know there are crazy people out there that wish watches had 10,000 nits of brightness. So leave me your opinions down below in the comments. So what about the actual hardware differences inside of these two watches? Well, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 Classic does have something, or actually quite a few things, that the OnePlus Watch 2 doesn't have. Fall detection, EKG, and skin temperature monitoring. But on the flip side, the OnePlus Watch 2 has something that the Watch 6 Classic doesn't have, and that of course is dual band GPS compared to single band GPS. So if you're a fan of tracking your workouts using that GPS, it's going to be much more accurate on the OnePlus Watch 2, which is something that I have noticed. Speaking of workouts, the Watch 6 Classic overcounts my steps by quite a bit. I don't know why. I'm not walking any differently, but I'm noticing on average, just on average, 1,000 to 2,000 extra steps per day with the Watch 6 Classic. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if I'm walking kind of weird, but it doesn't happen on any of my other devices. I'm not sure if it's something to do with the sensors, or maybe if it has like that single band GPS that I talked about compared to the dual band GPS. I'm not sure what it is, but it's kind of, it's annoying because I know I'm not walking those extra steps. Now, when it comes to heart rate, both watches do a really good job. They're like plus or minus 5 beats every single time, so you're not really gonna notice that big of a difference. And heart rate sensors nowadays are really good, even on like the cheaper, really cheap smartwatches that you can buy like on AliExpress, you know, Alibaba. So I think you're going to be good on that regard. Now, if you love taking naps like I do, the OnePlus Watch 2 has automatic nap detection. It is really accurate. I took a 30-minute nap and it actually logged it. Really darn impressive. Now, from what I noticed, I tried looking everywhere for it in the settings, online, everywhere. For some reason, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic does not have nap detection, or at least I could not find it. I took a nap, I woke up, it did not log it. So I don't know. If you have this watch and you have nap detection somehow, let me know how to turn it on, please. Other internal differences is the storage and connection type. So the OnePlus Watch 2 goes up to 2 gigabytes of RAM. Well, it has 2 gigabytes of RAM, and it goes up to 32 gigabytes of internal storage. Now, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 Classic also has 2 gigs of RAM, but it has half the storage, 16 gigs. However, if you need LTE, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic does have a more expensive LTE option, so you don't need to bring your phone everywhere you go. Maybe you forgot it, you know, at home and you just went to the store real quick. You can still be in contact with your friends and family. You can still receive notifications on this watch if you have LTE enabled. The OnePlus Watch 2 only comes in Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. There's no LTE option. Now let's go ahead and talk about the user interface. With the OnePlus Watch 2, you swipe up to go to your notifications, swipe left or right to go to different tiles, swipe down to get to your control center, and to access your apps, simply click down on the crown. With the Watch 6 Classic, you swipe down to access Control Center, swipe up to access your apps, swipe left to access tiles, and swipe right to access notifications. And like I said earlier, you can do that by using the rotating bezel. So if you turn left or clockwise, you go to your tiles, and if you go to counterclockwise, you go to your notifications. So it's a little bit more intuitive, I feel like, on the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, but it's not bad, definitely not bad on the OnePlus as well. Now look, I gotta be honest with you guys, as always, you know, I don't want to lie to you guys, I don't want to hype anything up, I don't want to make anything seem less important or more important, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The OnePlus Watch 2 is way more responsive than the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic. I mean, way more responsive. I only notice this whenever I'm doing something random. So for example, with the Watch 6 Classic, if I have it on my wrist and I'm just sitting here watching a movie, you know, and then I'm like, I wonder how many steps I took. So then I use the rotating bezel to go to that tile, and from the time I start rotating that bezel to the time I actually see the tile switch, it lags like randomly for like 1.5 seconds, and then it's like, let's speed up, alright? It's so weird, but it kind of ruins the experience. It's almost as if you're not doing anything, the Watch 6 Classic ramps down the clock speed to save battery or something. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. With the OnePlus Watch 2, it is crazy responsive like 99% of the time, which is ironic because this is the smartwatch that actually has 2 chips inside. You know? This translates directly into receiving notifications. With the OnePlus Watch 2, if I have it on my wrist and I get a notification, no joke, by the time I actually turn my wrist, I already see the notification right there on screen, ready for me to read. Whereas on the Watch 6 Classic, I hear that ding and I feel that little vibrate on my wrist to let me know I got a notification. I flip it up, and then it's like another, I don't know, maybe another second, maybe slightly more than a second, and then that notification pops up ready for me to read. It's not a big deal. Look, it's a second, all right? Who cares? Just wait a second. But it adds to that feeling of premiumness. Premiumness, is that a word? I don't know. But it adds to that feeling of premiumness whenever you have a device that it's quick and speedy. And the OnePlus Watch 2, as well as OnePlus's all other devices, they are very speedy, very fluid, very just smooth. And again, that translates directly to the OnePlus Watch 2 as well. The speed and fluidity of the OnePlus Watch 2 is honestly basically identical to the Apple Watch. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the Snapdragon chip compared to the Exynos chip of the Samsung. I really don't know what it is, but yeah, this is better when it comes to responsiveness. So what about the price? Well, I left this to the very end. So the OnePlus Watch 2, $300. Now the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth version of the Watch 6 Classic 47mm is $370, and if you want that LTE like I mentioned earlier in the video, that's going to be $400. So this is quite a bit less expensive. I've been really enjoying these two smartwatches, but if I had to really pick, I will pick the OnePlus Watch 2. It just has everything that I want. Yeah, it doesn't have EKG, it doesn't have fall detection, but I haven't really noticed when I even used EKG last time. I know there are people out there that you do need that function, and of course, if you need that function, don't get the OnePlus Watch 2, obviously, right? That's why we have competition, that's why we have different choices. But for me and for how I use my watches, especially the battery life, the more accurate step tracking, the dual band GPS, the crazy fast charging, I choose the OnePlus Watch 2. So what do you guys think about these two watches? Do you own any of the two? Let me know your opinion and experience of these watches down below in the comments. You'll be helping out other people as well. If you guys are new here and you enjoyed today's video, definitely click that like button and consider subscribing. And as always, this was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.